Welcome to Conversations. I'm Muqtadar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk to you about the developing this divergence between the White House and the CIA and its assessment of what is really going on with the war, and especially with Iran. If you recall, in the very beginning of this war, American intelligence agencies had provided a NEST assessment to the White House that Iran was not an imminent threat to the United States. It was very clear. The entire intelligence community, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, and the Director of National Intelligence, DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, they had made this assessment very clearly that Iran was not threatening the United States. So this war of Donald Trump on Iran was a war of choice essentially done to advance Israeli interests. It's the Israelis who felt that Iran had become weak, especially after the war, the 12-day war in June 2025. And so they felt that they had this opportunity to go. And of course, for the Israelis, they had a useless and dumb guy in the White House, Donald Trump, who's stupid enough to not understand that this war would negate his very claim that everything he was doing was America first. So anyway, Donald Trump was somehow duped by Netanyahu. So he went against the advice of his own generals and against the advice of his own intelligence community and went into this war of choice, which can only be described as Israel first foreign policy. Anyway, but since that day, Donald Trump has been bragging, like he did last time, that he had obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities. He said, we have destroyed and obliterated Iran's nuclear program. And then he comes back a few months later and says it is an imminent threat to Israel, to America, to the whole world even. And so Donald Trump was then going to respond by destroying Iran's entire civilization and so on and so forth. So we know all of that. So he has been consistently bragging, as has Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War, that the U.S. has devastated Iran's navy. They've destroyed all of Iran's military capabilities. Iran has run out of ammunition, and the U.S. has destroyed the launchers, and the U.S. has destroyed its factories, etc. And therefore, Iran is not a threat, really. America has won this war easily. Then why is Iran still able to block the Strait of Hormuz? This is a simple question. If they have no military capabilities, then why is there a blockade from the Iranian side also? On top of that, the US too has blockaded. So the latest argument coming out of the White House is that the blockade is now destroying Iran's economy, and the pain is going to be so severe that either the public is going to rise in opposition and completely overturn Iran's government, or what is going to happen is the weapons or basically Iran will not be able to sustain itself. There will be lots of crises. You can't stop producing oil and you can't sell oil. So there's going to be an oil storage crisis. So the White House has been saying that Iran is just on the verge of economic collapse. So that is the argument, that the blockade is going to lead to an economic collapse. Iran can't suffer the pain, and therefore Iran will surrender to Donald Trump and accept the deal that has been offered. Donald Trump sent a 14-point pager, and Iran has responded to it, has sent back its own counter proposals, which Iran says will ensure the security of the Gulf as well as bring about a ceasefire. We will see what happens. We have not seen details which are with the Pakistanis at the moment, and I guess Americans are looking at it. But meanwhile, the CIA has leaked, or the CIA made an assessment about Iran's economy and Iran's nuclear military capabilities, and which are completely opposite to what the United States government has been saying, especially the White House, especially Donald Trump. So what I'm going to do now is going to essentially tell you what the CIA leaked report says, and then I'll give you a brief overview of the Iranian economy itself, the reality of Iranian's economy. It is definitely suffering. There's no doubt about it. The Iran's economy in 2025 was not as strong as it was in 2024, and it certainly can't be stronger than in 2026. But it is not on the verge of collapse as President Trump has predicted. So first, let me share with you what are the things that the CIA has leaked report says. So the first assessment that the CIA has made is that Iran can suffer and withstand the U.S. naval blockade for anywhere between 90 to 120 days, which means 3 to 4 months. So we are now in May. So June, July, August, September. So if they hang in there for a couple more months, then we are into the midterm elections. Right now, the oil in the United States is gone through the roof. The price of gas at the pump has gone up anywhere between 40 to 50% across the country. In Delaware, it was $2.9. Now it's over $4.2. That's straight up 50% increase in gas prices. Across the country, the average is about 4.6, 4.7, $4.70. In some states like Washington, Seattle, Washington, California, and in the city of Chicago, I've heard that the gas has gone way above $5 and is on the verge of touching $6. This is pain, especially in the summer when it's a driving season. So if you look at point number 5 on the list, the CIA is saying that it is quite possible that Iran is going to probably outlast the U.S. politically on this issue. Donald Trump may not be able to survive the anger of the American people if this price stays up. First of all, 70% of Americans are not in favor of this war at all. There is a bunch, I'm really frustrated with these 30% Americans who are so profoundly stupid that they actually believe anything and everything that Donald Trump says. So they believed him when he said he obliterated the nuclear program, and they believe him now. So I really don't know what to make, what to say about the IQ levels of Donald Trump supporters. Don't they know that he's lying to them? Don't they know that he told them that he would do America first, and this has nothing to do with American interests? This war itself is about Israel. Just as Israel dragged America into a war with Iraq, it has now dragged America into a war with Iran. And American politicians who take money from the Israeli lobby and Israeli supporters in this country, and they're not all Jewish, but a large number of them are evangelical Christians and Christian Zionists, people like Mike Huckabee and Joe Biden. So we have this bizarre situation there where 30% of Donald Trump supporters continue to believe, and I guess they have no other choice in life, I guess, for them. This is the last person who is going to pay attention to their necessities. I guess that's why they're supporting him. But anyway, it is quite possible that, as the CIA estimates, Donald Trump is going to pay a very heavy price if Iran hangs in there and there is no ceasefire. Already the U.S. has lost all allies in Europe. The Asian countries are going to be even more upset because it's going to impact the Asian economy far more seriously. And we will see what happens going forward. If you look at point number 2, the Americans have been claiming that Iran is completely saturated or lost all its missile capabilities. We've destroyed all their missile launchers, etc. The CIA says that 75% of Iran's launchers are still intact. So whatever number they had at the beginning of the war, they lost only a quarter of that. I mean, this is stunning. Even I find it very difficult to believe this, but that's it. 75% of Iranian launchers are still intact, which means that if there is a massive attack by the United States, there will be a massive retaliation by the United States, and this time it will probably be concentrated on Israel and United Arab Emirates or just UAE. I mean, one of Donald Trump's legacy would be the end of Dubai. And then the CIA also says that of all the missile stockpiles that Iran had before the war, there were all these estimates that Iran had about 3,000 missiles, and Iran shot about 1,000 of them just at UAE and other countries in the Gulf, at Israel too, and then at various U.S. military bases. And now they're saying that, wow, Iran still has 70% of its missile stockpiles and the thousands and thousands of drones. So basically what the CIA is saying that Trump is wrong. Iran's economy is not about to collapse. It can last for another 4 months. Number two, it's saying that Iran's weapon systems have not collapsed. They have retained about 60 to 70 or 70 to 75% of their arsenal is still intact. So Iran is three-fourths what it was at the beginning of the war. What we don't know is what is the situation with American weapons and American defense equipment, all this THAAD and Patriot and Iron Dome missiles. How rapidly are we able to rebuild the stockpiles? Are we at 70, 75%? I don't know. The CIA report also says that Iran is adapting and evading. So Iran is mitigating the blockade's impact by storing oil on tankers, using covert ship-to-ship transfers, cutting output and expanding smuggling routes, trying to send things by land, by train to Iran, for example. Oil is being shipped. Iran has also apparently got some ships to sneak past the U.S. blockade by sticking to the coastlines, by sailing through Iranian, Pakistani, and then Indian waters, by not sailing in international waters. But I'm not sure whether while sailing through Pakistani or international waters, the U.S. military will be hesitant to attack them. They also say that Iran still has thousands of drones and the capability to threaten U.S. ships and vital infrastructure. They have already attacked the U.S. Navy in the last 48 hours more than once. And then finally, they said the leak reveals a sharp gap. So this particular leak is very interesting. It shows that the political side of the government, which is the White House, is out of sync with its intelligence because it is not listening to Americans. The reason why there's a gap between White House and the CIA is working for America. The White House is working for Israel. That is why there is a disagreement. That is why there is a disparity. And it has been so in the case of Iran. It's always been what the White House said. It didn't matter whether it was Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It didn't matter who was the president. The White House is always working for Israel. The U.S. intelligence, God bless them, and the U.S. military are at least at the moment still working for the U.S. government. We have politicians here in the United States who are introducing bill to cut funding to Americans and extend funding to those who have fought for Israel. So the U.S. government is not going to provide health care to those who fought for Israel, but will cut health care for American citizens. This is the kind of politicians we have in this country. And Americans vote for them. Good for them. I find that at one level, the level of stupidity the American voter class is so profound, whether the Democrat or Republican, that I feel that they don't deserve to live in a democracy. A democracy is really as good as how well informed its citizens are. If the citizens are ill informed and there's a lot of money in the politics, then the politicians who have absolutely, this country has politicians with no morality. They will take money and do whatever you want. There's no doubt. I mean, look at it. Look at the Epstein case. Everybody agrees that about 1,000 children were sexually abused. Not one person has been prosecuted other than Epstein himself. How is that happening? It's because the politicians here are absolutely immoral, dirty, corrupt. There's no doubt about it. All right. So let me show you something else. So let's look at the Iran's economy itself and say, well, we will see what is going to happen with Iran's economy going forward. So I'm going to show you the data on what Iran's economy was in 2024, what Iran's economy was in 2025. Oh, by the way, we have in our house a true Modi fan. They are always obsessed with Muslim penises. So he's worried about my penis. This is what they call a true Sanatani. They call themselves true Sanatanis and big fans of Modi's. And they have only one goal in their life. They're constantly obsessed with Muslim penises. And this is one of them. And his name is Satyam Agrawal. So I thought I will share for you. Usually they avoid me nowadays, but There was one in the House, so I thought I will share that with you. These are the people who now rule and govern India. These are the people who are in India's parliament, in India's ministries, and these are the people whom a majority of Indians are now voting. It's people like him who just got elected in Bengal. They have only one goal in life, being totally obsessed with Muslim penises. It's so strange. Yes, I know some of them actually worship penises, but Muslim penises seems to be an obsession with them. But anyway, forget about them. Let's come back to talking about Iran's economy. So let me give you an update or an overview of Iran's economy. So if you look at these two columns, I have data for 2024 and 2025. Iran's economy was about $460 to $475 billion in 2024, and that has collapsed to or gone down by $90 billion in 2025. So there are two or three reasons that I can think of for that decline. Number one, it is because the value of the Iranian currency has gone down significantly as a result of the war in June last year. And because the Iranian currency is going down, the dollar is becoming more and more expensive. And because the dollar is more expensive and we are measuring the GDP in dollars, it is showing lower. It's quite possible that in Iranian currency, the economy might have grown even and showed a higher value, whatever it is. But in dollars, it has significantly gone down, which means Iran's purchasing power capacity outside its borders, importing stuff, etc., becomes far more difficult. The second thing is that, yes, its economy may have actually suffered severe damage as a result of the war. And the third reason is that Donald Trump has imposed more sanctions, and the sanctions which are in place are being more meticulously implemented. So the news around Iran's economy has got tighter. In 2024, Iran had a GDP per capita of $5,190. Now it is $4,000. So Iran was upper middle income economy by World Bank standards last in 2024. It is not so anymore because, like I said, one of the reasons could be the economy is actually going down. Number two is the currency values has significantly dropped. For those of you who are familiar, India went from being the fourth biggest economy to the sixth biggest economy, and one reason for that is the decrease in the value of Indian rupee. A year ago, a dollar was worth 83 Indian rupees. Now it's worth 94.5. It even reached 95.5 a few days ago. So as the value of your currency goes down with regards to dollar, and because GDP and GDP per capita is measured in dollars, it looks low. Iran's GDP growth in 2024 was 3.7%. which is slightly low for a developing economy, but not bad. But then it has dropped to 0.3 to 0.6% growth rate in 2025. And the next two items are the scarier ones. One is inflation was 32.5% in 2024, which is huge, and it has gone to 42.4 to 48. It's like 50%. So anything that costs, it's like oil prices going up in the US. In Delaware, it's gone up by 50%. That is a huge blow. But this is on every item in Iran. This is a very devastating number. And in that case, you can very clearly say this is a basket case if your inflation is at 50%. The United States inflation in 2024 and 2025 was around 2.4% to 2.9%. It remained below 3%. Since March, it has gone up to 3.3%. So the US, when we talk about an affordability crisis in the United States, we're talking of an inflation rate which is at 3.3%. And this is 50%, 48.6%. That's absolutely stunning. This is the consequence of the sanctions. This is the consequence of international isolation. This is the consequence of constantly being in opposition to the West. Unemployment rate was around 7.6 to 8.2. It has now gone up to to 9.2 to 9.8 in 2025, and even more so because in the last 2 months, the US and Israel have destroyed a lot of factories in Iran. They have hit a lot of civilian infrastructure, and while there may be more jobs in the construction and rebuilding phase if Iran can afford it, but lots of factory jobs should be hurting even skilled laborers, engineers, and etc. And according to some reports, about 1 million jobs have already been lost in the last 2 months, which means that the unemployment figure should be more than 10%. I want to share with you some more data. This is the data about trade. In 2024, Iran's total trade was $185 billion, and it dropped to $157 billion in 2025. Its total exports were about 112. They dropped to 85. Total imports were the same. It's fascinating to see the total imports were exactly the same, but total exports dropped significantly, primarily because of the sanctions and the war. And so the trade balance, which used to be $40 billion, has dropped to $12.6 billion. This clearly shows that on nearly every economic indicator for Iran, things have been going downwards, unfortunately, for them. And this is the final slide that I want to show. Is this. This is the defense budget of Iran. The only thing that has gone up from 2024 to 2025 is the defense budget. In 2024, it was $16.5 billion. It went up by literally double the amount to $32 billion in 2025. This is partly because they have been at war, literally, especially in last 12-day war that they fought with Israel. And they must be spending more in preparation for the ongoing attacks by US and Israel. They have two major branches of the army, the Artish or the regular army. Their budget was $1.84 billion. It's gone up to $2.4 billion. And the IRGC, the Republican Guards, the Revolutionary Guards, I guess, it's gone up from $7 billion to $12.5 billion, doubled. And they are spending more and more of their oil money on defense purposes rather than development. So what is very clear is that Iran's economy has suffered significantly in the last 2 years because of the wars and assaults and the sanctions and the new sanctions that have come. So they must be constantly under pressure to make a deal. The number one goal would be to get sanctions relief so that they can export and they can import. It's not just about making money, it's also about getting essential things like medicines. So if you're not able to import medicines, then your population is going to suffer. So it's not just about saying, oh, we want to sell oil and make money, and with that money we will make more bombs and more guns or redevelop. So the Iranians, the fact that their economy has been doing so badly is also going to have an impact on how they negotiate and what they negotiate for. So they will want sanctions relief. They will want the billions of dollars of their assets which have been frozen by the Western countries and the US in particular. They would want to, I guess, generate some kind of revenue from the Strait of Hormuz going forward. But more importantly, they also want some kind of compensation for the damages they suffered from the war for reconstruction purposes, which the US has at the moment denied it. But there will be part of the negotiation, at least from the Iranian side, they will be asking for that. So that is where we are, and I will now be happy to see if there are any questions or is one of the worst audiences, not one of the worst internet people are from India. Regardless of what the subject is, all they have to do is say horrible things. So unless we have people like that here in the house, I will be otherwise happy to answer your questions and your comments. Hitesh, namaste to you. Arun Sakle, first visit, fine. This is a good question from Hitesh. What did Trump get from this? Well, Trump sold his soul to people like Miriam Adelson and others. He took over $200 million, they say, from her for his campaign in 2024. So he's getting millions of dollars from the pro-Israeli lobby. And so he's serving his masters. So yes, it doesn't help the U.S. It hurts the U.S. in many ways. But American politicians these days don't care about America. It's always about Israel. It's always about Israel. Because there are, fortunately for Israel, there are billionaires here who are interested in the future of Israel more than they are interested in America. And so they will give money to politicians. And the politicians here, as I told you, have no morality, no ethics, no principles, no values. Money is the sole god. And they sell out, unfortunately. And so Donald Trump did that too. He needs more money to fight the midterm elections, and so he will continue to pursue this. 70% of Americans are not in favor of this war. U.S. intelligence said Iran was not a threat. So this is a war of choice. Why did he choose to fight this war? You ask yourself that question. Canada has just stayed out. The Europeans and the Canadians have just stayed out of this war. They're done, it appears. The distance between Netanyahu and the rest of the Western world has increased significantly, as it has increased with the American citizens too. So the support for Israel has declined significantly among the American population. But like I said, we have politicians who are completely undemocratic. They don't advance the causes of the people they represent. They work for the people who buy them. And that's where we are. Oh, this is a good question. Will Trump's visit to China change the scenario of Iran war? I think it's the other way around. I think if the counter proposal from Iran is something that Trump likes, and if they continue to pursue on that. So if it appears that the negotiations for war termination are progressing in positive directions, most definitely in a positive direction, not like the enthusiasm that we had when J.D. Vance went to Islamabad in the early hours and they negotiated for 21 hours. We kept thinking, oh my God, there's something going to come out of this, and nothing came out of it. But if it appears that things are moving in the positive direction, then I think Donald Trump and Xi Jinping will be able to talk about other things, trade, artificial intelligence, critical minerals, magnets, special earth, all of those issues, manufacturing issues, tariffs. The U.S. wants China to buy more soya beans and all of those agricultural products which they have stopped buying. So yes, trade will be on the issue. Taiwan will be on the agenda. Artificial intelligence governance will be on the agenda. But if the U.S. rejects the counter proposal or says this is not a non-starter and they're back to square one, then I think the Iran war will be number one on the agenda, and perhaps it will undermine the rest of the grand bargain between U.S. and China. And so I think it might be in the interest of U.S. and China to talk about the Iran issue, but not just not allow this issue to sideline all other issues which are pending. And that is an important thing. Well, the war over thing is because Donald Trump, first of all, has no authorization to fight this war. So it's kind of an illegal war from both international law perspective as well as U.S. legal perspective. But if he is allowed by the War Powers Act to take initiatives to defend the U.S. But for that, he has only 60 days. And so after 60 days, he has to go to the Congress to get authorization. So he knows that Congress is not going to authorize this war. Like I said, the Americans don't want this war. It's not about a war. Even our politicians who have sold their souls to Israel are unwilling to vote because they can see what is going to happen to them in November. And then the progressive side of the Democratic Party has become really stronger and stronger, and they are very, very critical on this issue. So it became apparent to Donald Trump that he's not going to get authorization, even though the Republicans control both the House and the Senate. So instead of going to the Senate, he basically said, oh, we are ending Epic Fury, and then they're continuing to do whatever they're doing. The Congress is unable to stop them. The Congress can by cutting off their money, but they don't have guts. I did a whole, if you remember the article I wrote about King Charles' visit to the US, in that I made this point that American politicians have completely sacrificed the constitutional role of the US Congress, which is to check and balance the president, and they are not doing that anymore. So the US design of checks and balances is not working at all. The US is working only on 2/3 of the government. You can see the courts are doing their job. They canceled Donald Trump's tariffs because they were unconstitutional. This war is also unconstitutional, but the Congress is not able to do its job. The worst people are there in the Congress, I'm sorry to say. Ted Cruz, Lindsey Graham, can you imagine? Cory Booker, this idiot Chuck Schumer from New York. Oh my God, they're so awful. Just mentioning their names makes me want to go and, take a shower again. They're so filthy and dirty, morally speaking. Anyway, so that is where we are. So thank you for watching Conversations. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Like this video, press the bell icon, and don't forget to share this video with your socio-political network. Until next time, I'm your host Muqtada Khan. Take care.